Most people think rice is the safest thing in the kitchen. It is cheap, simple, filling, and eaten by billions of people every single day. But here is the uncomfortable truth. A shocking number of rice brands sold across America contain heavy metals, broken grains, pesticide residue, and low-grade blended harvests that would never qualify as premium quality if consumers could actually see what was happening behind the packaging. Today, we are exposing 15 rice brands you should think twice about buying and 3 brands that actually stand out for cleaner sourcing, consistency, and better grain quality. Number 15. Riceland Long Grain Rice. Riceland sounds wholesome, farmer-owned, American-grown, traditional branding. But here is what most people never notice. Much of their rice is sourced from Arkansas, one of the most heavily contaminated rice-growing regions in the United States. Arkansas rice fields sit on former cotton farmland where arsenic-based pesticides were used for decades. Rice absorbs arsenic from flooded soil more efficiently than almost any other crop. That means the contamination problem is not theoretical. It is built directly into the farming environment. Independent testing has repeatedly shown southern U.S. rice testing significantly higher for arsenic compared to California-grown varieties. And yet most consumers buying Riceland have no idea where the rice actually comes from or why that matters. Number 14. Iberia Basmati Rice. Iberia markets itself as premium aged basmati, but batch consistency is all over the place. One bag cooks fluffy and aromatic. The next turns sticky and flat, with uneven kernel length throughout the pot. That usually signals blended sourcing, and blended sourcing is where quality control starts collapsing. Real aged basmati requires time, storage costs, and careful harvest separation. Cheaper brands often mix younger rice into older lots, while still using premium labeling language. The result is rice that looks expensive but performs like downgraded commodity grain. Number 13. Great Value Enriched Rice. This is where mass commodity sourcing becomes painfully obvious. Walmart's Great Value rice is designed for scale first and quality second. Large, private label brands frequently source from whichever supplier offers the cheapest contract pricing. That means crop quality can vary wildly from batch to batch. One of the biggest warning signs is excessive starch bloom during rinsing. Cloudy water, floating grain fragments, powdery residue, those are indicators of breakage and aggressive milling. And here is the real kicker. Many budget rice products are enriched after processing because so much of the natural grain layer was stripped away during refining. Number 12. Mahatma Rice. Mahatma survives on recognition. It has been sitting on American shelves for generations, which creates trust by default. But reputation does not improve grain quality. Consumer complaints about texture inconsistency continue showing up year after year. Mushy centers, dry edges, uneven cooking. That usually happens when rice from different moisture levels and harvest conditions gets blended together. Brown rice varieties from southern growing regions have also faced scrutiny for elevated arsenic levels. The most frustrating part is that people buy Mahatma believing they are choosing a dependable classic, while newer specialty brands often deliver better grain integrity for similar prices. Number 11. Carolina Rice. Carolina follows the same sourcing problems as Mahatma because both operate under the same corporate umbrella. Large-scale rice production prioritizes volume, and once companies reach massive distribution size, maintaining premium grain selection becomes much harder. That is why cheaper rice often contains broken kernels, chalky fragments, uneven polishing, and mixed harvest lots. The packaging looks polished. The rice inside often does not. Number 10. Ben's Original Instant Rice. Instant rice sacrifices structure for speed. The rice is partially cooked, dehydrated, processed, and reheated before it ever reaches your microwave. That processing damages texture integrity. Then sodium, flavor enhancers, and additives compensate for what the grain lost during manufacturing. You are not eating fresh rice quality. You are eating shelf-stable engineering. And instant rice products often cost far more per serving than regular rice, while delivering worse texture and weaker aroma. Number 9. Goya Yellow Rice Mixes. The rice itself is not the only issue here. Seasoning packets create another layer of risk. Flavored rice blends frequently contain spices sourced through complicated international supply chains with uneven testing standards. Lead contamination cases involving cinnamon and spice products already showed how vulnerable imported seasoning systems can become. Now combine that with lower-grade rice, high-sodium packets, artificial coloring agents, and long shelf storage. What you end up with is less of a pantry staple and more of a processed food product disguised as rice. Number 8. Trader Joe's Rice Products. Trader Joe's built its reputation on the illusion of smarter grocery shopping. But when it comes to rice, branding does not magically erase contamination risks. Multiple investigations into arsenic levels found that rice quality depends far more on growing region than store image. If rice comes from high arsenic southern farmland, the contamination risk follows the crop regardless of the logo printed on the bag. And here is what frustrates many consumers. Trader Joe's does not always clearly specify detailed sourcing regions on every rice product. That leaves shoppers guessing. Number 7. Whole Foods 365 brown rice. Brown rice sounds healthier because it contains more fiber and nutrients, but there is a hidden trade-off. Arsenic accumulates heavily in the outer bran layer of rice. Brown rice keeps that layer intact, which means contaminated brown rice can sometimes test significantly higher than white rice from the same growing region. Several consumer investigations found 365 brown rice products ranking among the higher arsenic readings in tested samples. That creates a brutal contradiction. People shop at Whole Foods specifically trying to avoid toxins and processed foods. Yet some products marketed as health-conscious alternatives still test poorly for contamination. Number 6. Generic bulk rice. This category scares food safety experts for one simple reason: traceability disappears. With major brands, at least there is a corporation attached to the product. There are testing standards, distribution records, supplier contracts, and legal accountability. Generic bulk rice sold through discount markets or unbranded packaging can come from mixed suppliers with minimal consumer transparency. You may not know where it was grown, how old it is, how it was stored, or whether it was ever tested properly. And rice storage conditions matter more than people realize. Poor storage increases moisture damage, insect contamination risk, and quality breakdown. Number 5. Success boil-and-bag rice. Convenience foods nearly always trade quality for shelf stability. Boil-and-bag rice is heavily processed to survive packaging, transport, moisture control, and long storage periods. The texture often turns rubbery because the grain structure has already been partially compromised before cooking. And many consumers never realize how expensive these products really are on a per-serving basis. You are paying premium prices for rice that already lost much of its natural texture before it reached your kitchen. Number 4. Rice-A-Roni. Rice-A-Roni barely qualifies as rice anymore. Most varieties are loaded with sodium, flavor powders, stabilizers, oils, and preservatives designed to create a strong flavor hit while masking lower ingredient quality underneath. One serving can contain sodium levels that become excessive once paired with the rest of a normal dinner. And because flavored rice mixes depend so heavily on seasoning packets, consumers focus on flavor instead of the actual grain quality underneath. That is exactly how processed food marketing works. Number 3. Parboiled Southern Rice Blends. Parboiling is not automatically bad, but cheap parboiled blends create major consistency problems. Lower-grade producers often rely on parboiling because the process helps damaged grains survive transportation and storage more effectively. That means heavily fractured kernels can still make it into final packaging. The result? Rice that cooks unevenly, feels dry, and loses the soft texture most people expect from quality grain. And once again, Southern sourcing raises the arsenic concern significantly higher than many imported or California-grown alternatives. Number 2. Store brand, jasmine rice. This is where deceptive packaging becomes extremely aggressive. Many store brand jasmine products use phrases like authentic, Thai style, or premium fragrant rice, but the grain quality often tells a completely different story. Real jasmine rice should release a soft floral aroma immediately after cooking. Cheap versions smell flat because lower quality harvests lose aromatic compounds during overmilling and poor storage. The worst bags also contain broken grain ratios high enough to turn the texture gummy after steaming. Consumers think they are saving money. In reality, they are often buying downgraded export leftovers packaged to look premium. Number 1. Unlabeled imported rice. This is the rice category that worries many food safety researchers the most. No sourcing transparency, no harvest information, no meaningful quality standards visible to the consumer. Some imported rice products enter distribution chains through fragmented supply systems, where testing oversight varies dramatically between countries. And once rice gets repackaged under generic labeling, consumers lose almost all visibility into origin, storage conditions, age, and contamination screening. Cheap unlabeled imports may save a few dollars up front, but when food traceability disappears, risk rises fast. The 3 rice brands that are actually safer. Safe brand. Number 3. Nishiki. Nishiki built a loyal following because its consistency is far better than most mass-market short-grain competitors. The fracture rate stays low, kernel sizing remains uniform, texture stays dependable from batch to batch. That matters because short-grain rice can become gluey extremely fast when broken kernels release excess starch. Nishiki avoids much of that problem, and despite its strong reputation, it still remains affordable enough for daily cooking. Safe brand. Number 2. Royal Basmati. Royal succeeds where many basmati brands fail. Aroma consistency. Open a quality bag of basmati, and you should immediately notice that floral, nutty fragrance. Royal consistently delivers that profile better than many competitors charging far more money. The grains cook long, dry, and separate instead of collapsing into sticky clumps. And imported basmati from India or Pakistan often tests lower for arsenic than rice grown in the southern United States. That makes Royal one of the strongest overall value choices on the shelf. Safe brand. Number 1. Lundberg Family Farms. Lundberg is one of the few American rice brands that treats sourcing and farming transparency as part of the product itself. Their California-grown rice repeatedly tests among the cleaner domestic options available. The grain quality is visibly stronger, lower fracture rates, better aroma, more consistent texture, and unlike many mass commodity brands, Lundberg openly emphasizes farming practices, water management, and sourcing standards. Yes, it costs more, but you are paying for tighter quality control instead of marketing shortcuts. Final thoughts. Rice should be one of the purest foods in your kitchen. Instead, far too many corporations treat it like an industrial commodity. They blend harvests, overmill grains, hide sourcing details, and rely on branding psychology to make consumers stop asking questions. Most shoppers never inspect the grain. They trust the packaging. That is exactly what weak brands count on. So next time you buy rice, stop looking at the logo first. Look at the sourcing region, the grain uniformity, the transparency, and the type of processing involved. Because once you taste properly sourced rice with real texture and aroma, it becomes painfully obvious how much junk has been normalized on supermarket shelves. Subscribe for more food investigations, and tell us in the comments which rice brand shocked you the most.